We're less than 2 months away from the launch of Pokémon X and Pokémon Y, which means new details are pouring in almost by the day. So we've cranked the analysis machine into overdrive to see what else we can uncover in both the Mega Evolutions trailer as well as a recent demo that was shown off at the Pokémon Game Show in Japan. And to do so, we've of course again enlisted the help of our resident Pokémon master, Derek Bittner. But please make sure to check out our previous analysis videos if you haven't already, as we'll be covering only the new stuff here. You can find links to them all in the description below. And with all that out of the way, let's get started with the biggest news, Mega Evolutions. And as it turns out, we've already seen one of them in action several times, Mega Mewtwo. But it's not actually a true evolution. Instead, it's more of a temporary power-up that only some Pokemon can perform during battle. But as soon as the battle's over, the Pokemon reverts back to its previous form. Now, while in the Mega form, their abilities, stats, and even type can change and improve. But there are several steps needed to trigger Mega Evolutions though. First, a Pokemon must be holding a new item called a Mega Stone, but it has to be one specific to their species. Then, during battle, the player can select the option to Mega Evolve while still choosing a move to attack with. Once both are selected, the evolution and attack will happen on the same turn, potentially turning the tide to battle. Oh, and each trainer can only do this once during battle. But there's still a few things we don't know about Mega Evolutions though, such as whether the Mega Stone is a permanent item or something that disappears with each use. In a screenshot of one of the stones, there's a number that indicates how many you're carrying, so it could be possible to just have multiple Pokemon of the same species hold Mega Stones in case you wanted them to evolve. This may mean that Mega Stones work more like berries and disappear after being used instead of the more permanent holdable items like sunglasses or an experience share. And then there's the question of whether Mega Evolutions count as brand new Pokemon. Will they have entries in the Pokédex? Or will they be more like how different forms are handled and players can change the entry picture back and forth? But, with such a strong emphasis placed on Mega Evolutions, we suspect that they'll be considered brand new Pokemon, but you never quite know what Game Freak has in store. Finally, the official Pokemon website states that there are other things needed for Mega Evolution to succeed, which will be revealed at a later time. So will a Pokemon's level come into play, or is it something else entirely? We're not sure, but with such a short time until the game's launch, it won't be long until we find out. Okay, now we already mentioned that not every Pokemon can Mega Evolve, but which Pokemon can? Well, so far we've learned about 7 of them that can go through the process. The first is Mega Mewtwo, which is the Mewtwo form we saw a few months ago. Now, although not much else has been said about it, we did learn that it has the Insomnia ability, which prevents it from going to sleep, which is perhaps one of the only times that having Insomnia is a good thing. Next up is Mega Blaziken, which will only be available as an event Pokemon. However, it will be available for quite some time as a download code, as it will be included with the game from the launch date until January 15th. But it will actually come to players as a level 10 Torchic holding its Mega Stone, Blaziken Knight. And it will also have the ability Speed Boost, which increases the speed stat after every turn. Next up is Mega Lucario, which not only gains an upgraded attack stat after the evolution, but a new ability too, Adaptability. This ability powers up moves that are the same type of the Pokemon using them even further. Oh, and Lucario's Mega Stone is also known as Lucario Knight. I'm sensing a pattern! Now, although Blaziken and Lucario are the only 2 Mega Stones we know the names of, we feel it's pretty safe to assume the others will all be the name of the associated Pokemon plus IT. It's a simple method, so trainers will immediately know which stone goes with which Pokemon. The next Mega Evolution is Mawile, who gains a Fairy type to augment its existing Steel type. It also has increased defense and special defense stats, and its ability is Huge Power, which doubles the Pokemon's attack stat. Following that, we have Mega Absol, whose already impressive attack stat gets improved even further. It also has the ability Magic Bounce, which reflects status-changing moves. After that, we have Mega Ampharos, which also gains a new type, becoming an Electric Dragon type and gaining the ability Mold Breaker. This move negates the abilities of other Pokemon in battle. For example, if a Pokemon with Mold Breaker used Earthquake on an opponent with the Levitate ability, it would still hit. The final Mega Evolution that we know about is Mega Kangaskhan, and this picture reveals that Kangaskhan itself changes very little physically. However, its baby grows in size and jumps out of its parent's pouch. Its new ability is called Parental Bond, which allows both Kangaskhan and its baby to both attack the opponent, effectively giving them 2 attacks per turn. The final thing of note is that we may finally know what the DNA symbol in the Japanese logo signifies, since it also appears above a Mega Evolved Pokemon when it finishes the process. Of course, you wouldn't be surprised if there's even more to that DNA symbol than just this. The Mega Evolutions weren't the only new things shown off about X and Y, as we learned the name of one of the cities, Shor City. And it's the home of a new gym by Karina, who adores roller skating. So much though that her gym almost appears to be a futuristic skate park, complete with sections that the player gets to grind on. But the big question is, what kind of gym leader will she be? Luckily, we think we've narrowed it down to 2 possibilities. Her helmet kind of resembles the Pokemon Aeron, which may mean she's a Steel-type trainer. However, if you look at her gym badge, it appears to be in the shape of a fist. This, along with the Karate G style of her clothes, makes it possible that she trains fighting types. But getting back to the city, it turns out that it's located next to another newly named location, the Tower of Mastery. This place is the building that resembles France's Mont Saint-Michel, and is said to have a mysterious connection to both Mega Stones and Mega Evolutions. However, that still doesn't give us an exact location for the city itself, since it could be either the small building surrounding the tower or the town near the beach. But thanks to Pokemon.com, we learned it's actually a seaside city, which pretty definitively identifies as the town to the south. Okay, and that covers it for the Kalos region, but what about those 3 new Pokemon that were shown off in the trailer as well? Well, the first one is known as Bunnelby, and it's a normal type. But we don't know much about it other than the fact that he can learn Dig and has a new ability called Cheek Pouch. This ability allows him to not only gain a berry's effect, but it recovers HP as well. Next is Dedenne, our new electric rodent Pokemon for the generation. In addition to its electric typing, it also has a fairy type. It has a brand new ability too, called Nuzzle. This move damages the opponent while paralyzing them too. It's pretty brutal. Finally, there's Skiddo, the grass-type pre-evolution to Go-Goat. Now, we don't know much about him either, but it is confirmed that he's rideable as well. Oh, and remember how we pointed out the baby Go-Goats back in our second Pokemon analysis? It looks like Game Freak did indeed sneak Skiddo into that trailer. Not to toot our own horn or anything. Alright, so new Pokemon are pretty cool and all, but the next revelation is probably the biggest news for longtime fans. You see, for a long time now, Pokemon have had basic stat values hidden behind the scenes. These stats, known as effort values or EVs, affected just how strong a given Pokemon would be. It's a complex mathematical formula that takes a Pokemon's nature into account, as well as which Pokemon it fought. If it took on Pokemon with a high health or speed stat, its health and speed stats would increase just a little bit more than normal. So advanced trainers would try to take advantage of this knowledge and boost their Pokemon team by fighting specific opponents, giving them vitamins, or more recently through Join Avenue. But Pokemon X and Pokemon Y are going to try and level the playing field by introducing Super Training and Core Training. Super Training focuses on minigames that help boost different stats, but only one of them has been revealed so far. This one is a soccer-style-like minigame where you're trying to score on the opponent while defending your own goal, and it can be controlled using either the circle pad or the touchscreen. Completing these minigames earns you various training bags, which can then be used in core training to quickly increase your Pokemon's EVs. They can also be increased naturally in core training, which is something that Pokemon do on their own. This screen is also where you can access a handy graph showing the progress of your stat training. It really is a new system that both new and advanced trainers will likely come to appreciate. Finally, we also got a preview look at what the new Pokémon Global Link will look like. As you can see, the prominently displayed colors change depending on whether you register a copy of Pokémon X or Pokémon Y. The timeline will also showcase the photos you've taken as well as details on various battles. It also displays a battle competition called the Kalos Cup that states that participants will get a special Pikachu. Unfortunately, the picture's too blurry to see everything clearly, and considering this is just a test image, this Kalos Cup probably isn't real. But it does provide a taste of what the new Global Link will look like for players who decide to register. Now normally, this would be everything we analyze. I mean, we'd be done. But the first playable demo of the game finally came out for the Pokemon Game Show. But the demo specifically made to reflect the X and Y experience, but not the actual game itself. Which means everything shown here may not actually be representative of the final game. Oh, and we don't have footage of everything that we learned about the demo, so it may not always match up perfectly. With that said, let's take a look at all the information that came out of it to see what else we can uncover. So in the demo, players are able to pick from 6 different trainers. 3 boys with the different starters, and 3 girls with the different starters. For the demo, Fennekin knows the moves Flame Charge, Fire Spin, Tail Whip, and Psybeam. And that last one in particular should prove pretty interesting since it lends further credence to rumors that Fennekin's final evolution will be a Fire Psychic type. Froakie, on the other hand, knows the moves Water Pulse, Quick Attack, Lick, and Round. Now, as you might have noticed, Lick is a Ghost type move, but in this case we don't think it's hinting at his next evolution being part Ghost. As for Chespin, unfortunately we weren't able to find what his moveset was. Okay, so the demo begins with Alexa telling you to go meet with Professor Sycamore. On your way there, you battle wild Pokemon, check out a limited version of Pokemon to Me, and even have a battle with both Shauna and your rival, the other player. There are also sections that let you ride Skiddo and Rhyhorn at different points. Now while we hope this will give us some idea of what this allows you to do, it seems the demo only allowed you to ride them in small self-contained areas. As for the Pokemon to Me portion, it appears that your Pokemon here has 3 stats: friendliness, hunger, and play. Though it's unclear what they affect specifically, it does seem like making your Pokemon happy can increase their chances of landing critical hits. Moving on, the rival battle also has an interesting twist. While it occurs like any other battle, this one in particular has a time limit. Now it's possible this is just for the demo, but if it isn't, it would mark a pretty big addition to the game. The other major battle occurs when you finally meet Sycamore, who gives you a Mewtwo and teaches you about Mega Evolutions. And once his explanation is over, you must use his Mega Mewtwo to battle him. And once you win, the demo's over. In addition, other tidbits have been popping up from various demo playthroughs. For one, it appears running is the default speed now, so in order to walk, you actually have to hold down the B button. And in a strange choice, your movement is still limited to just 4 primary directions when walking, but if you put on the rollerblades, you gain full multi-directional movement using the circle pad. Fortunately, unlike the bike, it seems that you can use rollerblades just about anywhere. Another potentially interesting detail from the demo is that Mewtwo's HP doesn't increase after the Mega Evolution, but we're not sure if this applies only to him or all Mega Evolutions. Oh, and then there's a Fairy type. Since Sylveon was one of the Pokemon in a team, players tried its Fairy Wind attack on the other Pokemon in the demo, and they discovered that Fairy type moves are not very effective on Fire types. Okay, and that covers it for everything we learned about X and Y. But there is still one more thing revealed at the Pokemon Game Show. A short clip of Lucario facing against Blaziken in a 3D style that's more reminiscent of the Pokemon Stadium, Coliseum, and Battle Revolution games. But strangely, the battle isn't taking place in an arena, but in the middle of a busy street, with a car and a few cafe tables in the background. Now on the left is a building marked with a Pokeball, perhaps it's a Pokemon Center, and on the right are various balloons, including Pikachu. Now most people are assuming this is a brand new Pokemon Stadium style game for the Wii U, and it very well could be. But we have a second theory. Take a look at the billboard behind Blaziken. It shows an insignia with a crown on top and a circle surrounding a fist with a Pokeball underneath. What if this is actually a fighting game in the same vein as Street Fighter? Between the setting and the stances of Lucario and Blaziken, we think it might have a chance of being a real thing. Now whether this means it will have a set roster, or perhaps even more excitingly, allow you to import your Pokemon from X and Y, we don't know. But this screenshot could be hinting at a lot more than people initially thought. And with that, we're done analyzing all the new information for Pokemon X and Y. And like always, let us know if we missed anything by posting in the comments. If you liked our analysis, please make sure to like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at GameXplain. There are even super easy to click links in the description below. Thanks for watching, and make sure to keep an eye on GameXplain.com for more on Pokemon X and Pokemon Y and other things gaming too.